A lot of people embark on a trip to the north specifically to drive the Alaska Highway, which I do understand. It's an amazing piece of history. It was a feat of engineering, and it changed the accessibility of the north part of North America. But in my humble opinion, the Alaska Highway could be more accurately described today as the Alaska Freeway. But there's a similar and much less known route built at the same time called the Canol Road. It stretches from Norman Wells, Northwest Territory, to Johnson's Crossing, Yukon. Was built in 1943 by the American military for the purpose of piping high-grade oil from Northwest Territories through to Whitehorse and on to Alaska. Funny enough, it was abandoned only 1 year after its completion, and it only ever moved enough oil to fill one tanker. And what you can see driving the Canol Road today is basically the same as what you would have seen driving it in the 1940s. Some sections, even as you can see around me right now, still have relics left behind from its construction during the Second World War. Fall is in full swing. It's a beautiful time of year to be doing a remote mountain pass. It's finally time we're doing the Canol Road. Less than 2 kilometers into the Canol Road, already having issues. It's that darn Dempster Highway. It was so rough on the poor trailer. Look at this. Lost the whole bolt out of the leaf. I can't imagine that bolt broke because there's just not that much force going through this trailer. But I carry a nice selection of nuts and bolts with me. The closest one I have to fitting through there is this one. It's just a regular old bolt. The idea is to tape it enough so that it's not sloppy in the hole. Just bolt her in. I think it should do the trick. This ain't rocket science, it's just trailer suspension. On the topic of rocket science, check out this custom trailer hoist. Pretty darn nice. Well, the final product is not something I'm necessarily proud of, but I do think it'll do the trick. I have the bolt like this going through, and then a lock nut on the other side, nylock, and then a bunch of electrical tape. The electrical tape is only there to keep the bolt from coming unthreaded. And I don't think there's enough movement there that it's going to cut through that tape, at least on this trip. And then going back through Whitehorse, I can get a proper bolt for the leaf hanger. Well, if that's our only breakdown on this trip, that will be just perfect. I don't think we're going to do the complete Canol Road. It's actually split up into 2 sections. There's North Canol and South Canol. We're just leaving Johnson's Crossing, which brings us to the beginning of the South Canol, which is government maintained. Once you get onto the North Canol, which takes you up into Northwest Territories, it is no longer maintained. It's still accessible, but this late in the season, there's a pretty good chance we're going to be running into snow, and there's a lot of steep climbs coming back out. It's just not worth the risk. But we'll be getting at least as far as Ross River, as long as the trailer doesn't fall apart. Many of the old bridges have been taken out and replaced with culverts, but one good thing about driving an old military road, whatever bridges are left, should be more than sturdy enough to support the rig. Just coming up to our first Bailey Bridge. So far, the beauty of the Canol has lived up to what I was expecting, but as far as condition, this road makes the Dempster Highway look like a brand new freeway. This road is rough. The original plan was to stay at Quiet Lake, but we didn't realize it's actually a government campground there. This road continues maybe another 60 kilometers. It'll get up into the Alpine, and there's Lappy Lakes up there. It's supposed to be super beautiful. Tonight is supposed to be at least okay for some northern lights, and then even better tomorrow. So we'd like to get up out of the tree line, hopefully see some aurora. Well, there's a road maintenance compound here, but there's some cool old military relics. Gotta take a quick look. Very cool. Oh, there's boots in there. Boots in a bucket. First gen grader. Wow. This one's in far better shape than the ones at the beginning of the road. Oh, the window's different though. I see. I thought this was gonna have a flip up window like the other ones, but it's just slightly up. I don't know if that's the first generation defrost, I'm not sure. I like that old truck though. We're at a little spot called Rose Lake. Still looks quite nice, so we're calling it home for tonight. And then tomorrow we're gonna backtrack a little bit because we've bypassed a whole bunch of really nice stuff that I want to film. But for tonight, this is home. Well, here's camp. I hate that it took us most of the day to get here, but holy smokes, is it beautiful. And I can't wait to fire some laser beams out there. River coming in right here. Exceptional. We are very close to Alpine. You can see the line there. So I'm guessing tonight will be our first night since the Arctic to see below zero.
Hold my breath while I die for us, pretend in the shallowness of you. I've been walking with no shoes.
I consider myself to be a pretty motivated individual. I struggle with procrastination as much as the next guy, but I like to stay pretty busy. I think the times when I struggle the most is in a place like this. There is nothing I would like more than to stand out on this point all day long, practicing my false casts, hoping to be lucky enough to trick a fish into coming over for a sample. We set up camp last night, and I think maybe my third or fourth cast got into a beautiful little lake trout. There was a beaver swimming around in the lake right in front of camp. There's a certain kind of magic that comes with staying in a place like this, especially in the fall. Got to, I think, around -5 last night, but the rig stayed nice and toasty warm, and I think I could happily stay probably several weeks here. But the neat thing about this trip is this is all new territory for us, and we only have a couple days to do it. So we're gonna head out and hopefully find a camping and fishing spot tonight that rivals this one.
I'll keep walking, I'll keep walking with no shoes.
Well, we're just making our climb up into the mountains here, which is the same section that we did yesterday, but I'm pretty happy to be able to do it twice because it is magnificent. You follow along beside this river all the way, and being down in the valley, the views are consistently changing and consistently amazing. The road is in surprisingly good condition, but there's just enough potholes to force you to go slow enough to absorb it all. Sections of this route are so beautiful, it's easy to forget why this was actually put in here. But it's pretty cool to think that what we see and experience driving this today is exactly the same as what they would have seen and experienced in 1943. I think it's safe to assume that anyone that had any part in the construction of this road is long gone now. But the road remains, and it's the only way you can get back in here and see this stuff. I have zero interest in talking about the politics of war, but I will tell you, I'm happy that it left behind the Canol Road. The pace in which we travel this road had me thinking we were never going to get there, but we're finally arriving at Lappy Lake, and it looks beautiful. We're really lucky to be here with a couple days of no wind. It looks like a sheet of glass out there. Try not to say it too many times in one season, but this might be the best camp spot. Well, maybe not the best camp spot, because if the weather wasn't good, this really wouldn't be that good. But take a look down the lake right here. I can hardly believe it.
I see a wilderness far in the distance. Oh, silver light, come find me. Silver light, swing hard through a red summer sky, drifting the color in the light. I'm in the motion, find me in the motion. Oh, silver light, come find me. Silver light. Where is the pain that marks the heart of saints with dignity and boldness, dignity and boldness? And white is the slate that covers all my face. So color me a story, color me a story.
The neat thing about Lapply Lakes is there's actually two of them. And what we learned about Lapply number 1, the bug to air ratio is about 70-30, being 70% bug, 30% air. So we made the big push over to Lapley number 2 to realize it's basically the same thing. But the temperature's dropping and the smoke is rolling. We're finally enjoying at least a little bit of freedom. We're gonna stay up late tonight because it's our first night with a really high probability of some northern lights. If they do come around, I'll try some long exposure. If not, well, see you in the morning.
Won't you come, won't you come and lift me up? Won't you come, won't you come and lift me up?
Had some beautiful crystal clear skies last night, which means, first of all, it got quite cold. Secondly, we should have had some beautiful northern lights viewing. The KP index was saying a maximum of 6, which is quite high, but unfortunately, nothing. That's okay, we have a couple more chances before we're out of the north, but we do have to get serious about heading south. Emmy flies out of Vancouver beginning of October, and that is a long ways away. Can't talk too much about that yet because first of all, we have to finish the Canol Road, and challenge number 1 today is going to be getting up out of this camp spot. It's a janky little drop down in here. A little bit of 4x4 action should be a piece of cake. We're just gonna crawl out of here.
Are we okay?
Oh yeah. Probably could have done it in 2-wheel drive actually.
Wow.
So steep.
You did it?
Oh yeah. Piece of cake for the old girl. As far as roadside fixes, I'm actually pretty proud of that leaf spring fix, and it lasted longer than I thought, but I can hear it clanging back there. Gonna have to pull over and put a new bolt through it. Okay. That's the last bolt that I have of that size, so fingers crossed this one holds. Okay, no more smashing potholes. See if we can get better parts in Whitehorse. Just stopped to take a look at the Lappy River going through the valley here, and the colors are unbelievable. There's no way that I can properly capture this. Well, here we are, finally rolling into Ross River, which is the end of the South Canol, beginning of the north, but unfortunately the end of our Canol Road adventure this year. Before we fuel up and mosey out of here, I want to check out some of these buildings in town. Unfortunately, I don't know really any of the history of Ross River, but it's clearly seen a bit of boom and bust. Look at this abandoned motel here, abandoned tire shop over here. pretty rough shape. Look at the size of that stove. Place is basically cleaned out. Got a little bit of new old stock still hanging on the wall. This is all boarded up, so obviously still privately owned. Not going to poke around too much, but I just want to go up these stairs, see if there's a little courtyard or anything in the back. It's definitely been sitting for quite a while. Nope, that's it. And this walkway feels very soft, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn around right there. One more facility here I want to check out, scratch my curiosity itch. It's an abandoned fuel station and hardware store, but I'm hoping we can see the price of fuel when it was abandoned. Maybe not. She's looking pretty rough. Digital, that's too bad. Yeah, same with that one. Whoa, got a diesel pump though. All digital. Well, I'm curious what happened in Ross River that ended up leaving all these places abandoned. Either way, that's the end of our Ross River tour. As much as we would love to do the North Road as well, unfortunately we just don't have the time. The South Road is the maintained of the two, and it took us 3 days. The North Road is also dead end, so it's out and back. So we'd be looking at probably a week and a half. But regardless which one you're doing or both, the only place to get fuel and supplies is here in Ross River. Price of diesel right now is $2.09. Not too bad. There we go. First pump I've seen in probably years. That doesn't stop automatically. But with that, it's time to officially head south. One of our big hopes this northern season, especially for Emmy, having not seen them before, is of course a chance to see the northern lights. We spent most of our summer too far north where the sun doesn't even set in the summertime, so we were hoping that the Canol Road was going to be our opportunity. And even though the KP index was high every night, we didn't even see a glimpse of the aurora. We got super lucky the first day off the road. We had probably the best northern lights show I've ever seen, so I'm closing out this week's episode with some of my favorite shots. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Destination Adventure, everybody. As always, take nothing but pictures, leave nothing but footprints, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Falling through these doors, if only for a while. Go back to the days when you were still a child. You're waiting for when you were still a child. You're waiting for our voice to come from up above. But could